I have found Outbeat News in depth for you.
Good evening and welcome to Outbeat News in Depth. I'm Greg Moralia. Well, earlier this year I had the pleasure of speaking at Travis Air Force Base to a group I'd never imagined would even exist just a couple of years ago. In the audience were 40 out LGBT active duty members of the Air Force. There were men and women of various ranks and ages, and several straight allies as well. And tonight, I'm thrilled to have several members from the Travis Air Force Base LGBT Alliance here to talk about their experience and life in the post-Don't Ask, Don't Tell world. And on this month's Outbeat Youth segment, members from Positive Images are back to finish what we started last month. If you tuned in, you might remember we were forced out of Studio A just after their interview started because of an electrical fire in another part of our building. So stay with us. All of this is coming up right after your Outbeat Radio News for this Sunday, March 23rd, 2014.
I have found Outbeat Radio News, your source for LGBT news from the North Bay and beyond.
Moscow's Central Station, one of the largest gay nightclubs in Russia, is about to be no more after a crisis of anti-gay attacks and a decision from the Moscow Arbitration Court that ordered the club's owners to end their lease of the building, this according to Queer Russia. Central Station was the target of at least 3 documented attacks in the last 6 months, one where armed men sprayed the club's unmarked doors with bullets, another where harmful gas was released into the club, and a third allegedly organized by the building's management where a group of men dismantled the club's roof in December. In early January, the club's CEO resigned and formally requested asylum in the United States. The former owner, Andrei Lichinsky, told news outlets in January that police refused to respond to any of his 30 complaints about attacks on the club and its patrons, and that he had personally been targeted by the local prosecutor's office and had his car lit on fire. And here in the U.S., on Thursday this week, Westboro Baptist church leader Fred Phelps died at the age of 84. Phelps, who was once a successful civil rights attorney and who won a case for Gale Sayers, became famous in 1998 when he and members of his church picketed the funeral of Matthew Shepard. Matthew's mother, Judy Shepard, now president of the Matthew Shepard Foundation, an organization dedicated to replacing hate with understanding, acceptance, and compassion, released a short statement this week saying, quote, "Regarding the passing of Fred Phelps, my husband Dennis and I know how solemn these moments are for anyone who loses a loved one. Out of respect for all and our desire to erase hate, we've decided not to comment any further." And here in California, the superintendent of the Fullerton Union High School District in Southern California, Dr. George Geocaris, has put a halt to the Troy High School's production of the Laramie Project, citing that the play's content, quote, "contains mature themes," end quote. However, students have been allowed to produce other plays with mature themes, including To Kill a Mockingbird, which contains themes of rape, racism, and violence, The Cat and the Canary, in which a character was shown hanged and others shot on stage, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which contains blunt depictions of abuse in mental institutions. An online petition to overturn this decision has been launched by the GSA network. Susan Burke of the Matthew Shepard Foundation said, quote, "All students of all ages are living these mature themes of bullying, hatred, and violence on a daily basis. Because school officials may be uncomfortable facing those facts is no reason to refuse to allow an avenue for discourse." The Laramie Project is not a play about being gay or promoting anyone being gay. It's about being targeted, hurt, and murdered for being different, or perceived to be different, whatever that difference may be. While conservative and cowardly decisions like this one by the superintendents are more common in Bible Belt states, it almost never happens anywhere here in California, especially now when the teaching of LGBT history in public schools is required by the Fair Education Act signed into law back in 2011. And finally, Napa Valley College invites you to attend a showing of the new documentary, Matt Shepard is a Friend of Mine. This film was produced by close high school friends of Matthew Shepard, the young gay man who was murdered in a vicious hate crime in Laramie, Wyoming back in 1998. Shepard's friends share for the first time their memories of Matt through never-before-seen videos, pictures, and audio. This new documentary premiered here locally in Mill Valley last fall and is now available for you to see, coming up on Thursday, April 17th at 7 p.m. at the Performing Arts Center at Napa Valley College. Tickets are now available for purchase online, and you can get a link from our website at outbeatnews.com. Just find the link on the center of the page. And stay tuned later in the show as we'll have some tickets to give away. Now here's your calendar of events for the coming week. On Monday, March 24th at 7 p.m., the parents of Transgender Youth Support Group will meet at the Positive Images Center, 312 Chin Street in Santa Rosa. And also on Monday from 5:30 to 8 p.m., the Marin AIDS Project will host a Mix It Up at the Four Points Sheridan, 1010 Northgate Drive in San Rafael. And on Wednesday, March 26th, from 4 to 5:30 p.m., the Petaluma LGBT Youth Support Group will gather at Casa Grande High School in room R10. And on Thursday, March 27th through Sunday, March 30th, the Sebastopol Documentary Film Festival will screen several short films and feature documentaries with LGBT themes, including Alfredo's Fire, Families Are Forever, and Alice Walker. Tickets for each film are $10, and you can learn more at sebastopolfilmfestival.org. And on Friday, March 28th from noon to 2 p.m., the Positive Women's Group will gather at the Food for Thought Sonoma County AIDS Food Bank Building, 6550 Railroad Avenue in Forestville. Lunch will be served during this supportive and fun meeting. You can learn more about local LGBT events happening here in the North Bay by going to gaysonoma.com. And if you have news or an event you'd like to share with our listeners, be sure to tell us about it by going to our own website at outbeatnews.com. Follow us all week long on Facebook and Twitter for the latest LGBT news and information from here in the North Bay and beyond. For Gary Carnavelli, I'm Greg Moralia.
Outbeat Radio News, your source for LGBT news from the North Bay and beyond.
Well, as I mentioned at the start of our show, I first met our guest tonight earlier this year at Travis Air Force Base. And of course, it's no secret that LGBT people have been faithfully serving our country since the time the military was created. But it's really only recently that groups like the Travis Air Force Base LGBT Alliance have been allowed to form and meet out in the open. And I have a great group of dedicated members of our Air Force with us tonight to tell us all about that. So welcome to Outbeat Radio, all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having us.
Well, it's great that you came all the way over here from Fairfield. So let's start out tonight. Just kind of go around the room, introduce yourselves. Tell us what brought you to the Air Force and if you're out on the job.
Okay. My name is Robert MacArthur, and I'm a dentist at the Dental Squadron at Travis Air Force Base. I first joined the military back in 2002 as purely a business operation. I come from a pretty big family, and I wanted to go to a private school out of state, and it was a way, as a means to pay for my education. So that's what brought me to the Air Force, and then I quickly fell in love with it. Entered under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, so I was not out at the time, but now, since the repeal, I am out at my work center.
Fantastic.
Good evening. My name is Anna Malhado, and I have been in the Air Force since 2007. I'm currently a medic at the David Grant Medical Center on Travis Air Force Base, and like Robert, I entered prior to the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and I'm still not out at work, but I am out to friends and family.
Great.
My name is Myri Heff. I joined the military in 2002. I come from a really small town in a really small family, so I joined to explore the world and kind of get out, and I've done that. I joined while DADT was still in effect also. Since it's been repealed, I've come out at work. I guess I was kind of out before it came out, before DADT was repealed, but I'm out at work and with my family and friends. I'm a substance abuse counselor at David Grant.
Fantastic. And for those people here that may not be familiar with Travis, it's a huge Air Force base with a gigantic medical complex,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So let's go back before Don't Ask, Don't Tell, before the LGBT Alliance was even a dream. What was it like in the military for you? And did you know people who were out sort of unofficially, or how did that work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Greg, it was actually, it was tough. I'm not going to lie. During Don't Ask, Don't Tell, one word that comes to mind is just this constant level of paranoia. While under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, is someone going to find out? I remember driving into work every Monday, having to go through in my mind how I would word when people would ask me, what did you do this weekend? I would have to think, how am I going to respond to that question to where I can be truthful, but at the same time I would have to code it to where they couldn't, find out anything that I would do could potentially lead to an investigation. So I was very, very paranoid during that whole time of being in active duty while under Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Yeah, it was kind of the same for me. My work center, most people in my work center knew that I was gay, but they didn't. It wasn't something that we spoke about or talked about openly. I used to use a lot of pronouns like they, we, us, them, my roommate. So everyone knew who my roommate was, but it was difficult, getting my story straight and making sure I used the correct words instead of saying she.
Yeah.
Anna, how about for you?
I really, it depends on where you work, pretty much. I know my old unit, it wasn't really something that was spoken about, and really just depends. The unit I'm in now is fine, but it just kind of varies depending on your work center.
So it sounded like there's sort of this 24-hour additional pressure on top of all of you that was sort of always looming there. That must have been really tough. So as you began to hear discussions and sort of forecast the fact that Don't Ask, Don't Tell was going to fall, what was that like for you?
There was still a level of paranoia because I remember several people saying, well, they could repeal it, and then 2 days later they might take that away. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful. And I remember in December of 2010 when the legislation started to pass, they specifically said there was going to be at least a 60-day waiting period, and it wasn't actually until September 20th, 2011 when it became official.
Right.
So there was this limbo period. I remember a lot of people not believing it. And even today, there are still members that I've talked to and worked with that still think there could be, for some reason, the repeal could go away and it could be still enacted.
I was always curious what we were going to wait for during that time. There was all these decades, and then this discussion about repealing it, and then the decision to repeal it. But wait, we have to wait a few more months for something to happen?
Right.
I don't know. Now, you mentioned that there are still people who are they closeted on base then, that are afraid to come out still?
I think there are several people that are not openly, that are not out at work or in the military. Some due to, I think, due to their positions. Some due to the fact that they're afraid of what the backlash may be, or the conversation surrounding that, or kind of how they'll be viewed at work.
So, what's the answer then to making that better? I mean, how are you going to convince people then that it's okay to come out?
That's a great question. I think it comes down to the need for having a cultural change, and that's one of the aims of this group, is educating and spreading awareness about our group. For the young airmen who just joined the Air Force, and Travis is his or her first location, and they're sitting in their room thinking, I'm the only person that's gay, and giving them, the resources to know, hey, there's a support group here. Or for the old chief who's been in for 20 plus years and is afraid, almost institutionalized into thinking, I can't come out. There's still retribution. My job will be affected. Letting them know, hey, no, that's not the case.
Yeah, so we were talking before we got on the air, and you mentioned, I think, a really good example about a similar type of change. You talked about school desegregation in 1954. I think there's this sense out there that when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, that all of a sudden, whammo, everything was great the next day, and that's not true, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So what do you think the future holds then? Do you think there's still a risk that it would ever be reenacted, or are you feeling pretty confident that we're beyond that?
I don't think we would need to fear a repeal of the repeal or anything like that. I believe to piggyback of what Robert was saying, it's just a culture change, and I think as time goes on, people will become more and more comfortable with that discussion, and it will be a non-issue. Great.
So the LGBT Alliance, tell us about how that came into being on the base.
Well, actually, there was a focus group held by one of the organizations on base back in November, and a few people got together. I don't remember the exact number, but there were a few people that got together to kind of discuss what the purpose of it would be, or kind of what's needed at Travis Air Force Base. And then from there, it kind of took off.
And so I remember when I came, well, first of all, let's go back. This started in the fall, right?
Correct.
So it's still
November.
a fairly new organization. I think I was there in January or February, and I was floored to walk in the room to see 40-plus people. Mm-hmm. What was the response? It must have been kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, I don't think, like Myri was saying, we had maybe like 5 to 10 people in that first focus group in November, and then, we've had 40, 50 people at our meetings. So that's great, but I think we know, based off the base population as to how many, about 11,000 people, or maybe more than that. There's obviously a lot more people that aren't coming to our meetings.
Sure.
Or that don't know about our meetings.
Now, this isn't entirely unique, because I'm sure that there are other types of organizations to support different, clubs and interests and whatnot on base, but you're a private organization, right?
Correct. And we're the first private organization within the Air Force.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it is pretty unique that way. What's the response been across the base? Have you been embraced? Has it been a struggle?
It's been pretty positive and pretty supportive.
Yeah, I would agree, especially the leadership on base. Wing leadership, we've actually had our vice wing commander attend one of our meetings and express his support and express the need that he would like for us to help him in educating other base leaders about our organization and to help spread awareness. So I've been very pleasantly pleased and surprised with the amount of support that we've had.
So that's got to make you feel pretty good, and even for those who are a little unsure, to see someone at that rank walk in the room and say, "I'm behind you," that's got to be a great vote of confidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I remember when I was there that night, there were a good number of straight allies there. One, I think he was a supervisor of some sort, spoke out really pretty confidently. Give us a sense of how you think LGBT people are being then accepted across the base. I know there are so many different units, but just kind of give us a sense. Is it going well? Are there still hiccups? What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both, potentially, depending on your work center, who you work with, what your job is. My work center has always been welcoming. From the day I got to this base, I've been accepted in my work center with no issues. I'm sure that's not the same for everyone across the base. I do think that this organization, though, does help our straight allies understand more about our issues or the struggles that we have or that we're enduring or that we've endured in the past, and them being able to come to the meetings kind of opens their eyes a little bit more. I've had coworkers come to the meetings that I've invited to the meetings, and after the meeting, they're like, "Wow, I didn't know there were so many people on base." And I said, "Well, that's only a small percentage." So sure. I think it's really opening eyes, and hopefully that's what it will continue to do.
Fantastic. So let's go back to the meetings. Tell us about some of the events that you've been doing and some of the speakers that you have. What would someone expect who would attend one of these Alliance meetings?
Well, our meetings are on the first and third Wednesdays of the month, and we have one meeting that's more of a formal setting, which is the first Wednesday. The third Wednesday is usually a social event. This past meeting was just a get-together bowling event, and the previous month was a get-together at an Italian restaurant. So it varies from month to month, and we do that just to kind of give people a way to interact and socialize amongst themselves.
And I would imagine with 11,000 people on base, and I've been out there, it's huge, that it might be difficult for people to connect. If you're the one person in your particular work group or squadron, it might be tough. So this provides a pretty good social connection for people, too, to meet, right?
I think it does.
Are you doing anything around education? Is there any counseling and support services that you're doing for people who are struggling with coming out?
Yes. One of the pillars, I guess we'd like to educate and spread awareness. We have our First Term Airmen Center, which is brand new airmen that are coming to base. We are going and speaking to them about our group. And then also setting up meetings with other private organizations to spread awareness about who we are, and we're inviting them to our meetings, and we're also being invited to their meetings. We're also presenting to base leadership, just very basic slides about our group and contact information. If they have troops who are struggling with coming out, they can come and contact our group members.
So this could be amazing. I mean, I'm just sitting here listening to you talk about the orientation you do for new members of Travis, I would imagine you get young airmen from all over the United States. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, I'm thinking about this kid in Kansas who enlists in the Air Force. He's not out in Kansas, and yet you're providing an opportunity potentially for them to come out while they're in the military here.
Mm-hmm.
That's
also just trying to educate ourselves. That's another key point that I think it's important at our meetings. We're slowly realizing. I think next month we're actually going to be having a meeting centering on bisexuality, being HIV positive and being in the military, and also transgendered issues.
That is amazing.
So not only are we trying to educate the leadership, we're trying to educate the new airmen, give them opportunities, but also ourselves.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I can't wait to hear the stories, especially from someone who is actually able to come out for the first time while in the military. I mean, people go off to college all the time and use that as their time and place to come out. I don't think I would have ever given the thought that the military might be that avenue for someone. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Have you encountered any challenges with getting the Alliance up and running? It doesn't sound like membership is a challenge.
Right. I think the biggest challenge to date is just spreading the awareness about our group. Every time we have someone come to our meetings, they always say, I never heard about this. How long have you guys been around? Not too terribly long, but I would say just getting the word out there that we even exist to the large base populace is probably the biggest challenge so far.
I can see another challenge coming as far as space for our meeting.
Yes.
The room that we have, the Airmen and Family Readiness Center on base is where we hold our meetings right now. But with our membership continuously growing, I think that probably be an issue in the future.
What about families? Do you have any families that attend the meetings?
We do. We currently have a retired chief who attends with her wife, and we do have some members who sometimes bring their children, sometimes not, but we do have that network.
So is that something that you've seen on the base? Certainly there's family housing in and on the base, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Are LGBT families making themselves more visible now in this post-Don't Ask, Don't Tell world?
I think because of the benefits that are just starting to trickle in, I personally haven't. I'm sure there are families walking around, and like Anna said, we have members that do come and bring their kids to our meetings, but not yet. But also, it's hard to get a house on base because there is a wait list. Okay. So it wouldn't be because they're not welcome. It's more just a spacing issue.
So that brings me to another question then about families. If any family on base had a son or daughter who came out as LGB or T, would they be able to attend and participate in these meetings, or is this just for enlisted and officers?
No, that's not the case. The meetings are open to anyone who has base access.
So do you envision then having a youth group component eventually for this? I mean, again, 11,000 people and all the families that are there, there's got to be a good number of young people that are associated with members that could benefit. Is that an idea?
There's so much potential for the group. I wouldn't deny thinking about that.
Okay. So what do you see in the future then for the group? What are some of the goals that you're hoping for in this coming year?
Well, increasing the membership, and also word is spreading amongst leaders even off base. So there's other wing leadership that are interested in our group kind of being the forefront or setting a template for other groups. And, as members of our group, when we change over leadership in the next couple months and members start to PCS or to move off base to another base, hoping to, establish something similar. So this cultural change that we're doing is not just at Travis in Northern California, but at that other small base in, let's say, the middle of Kansas or South Dakota. So we're really spreading that cultural change throughout the Air Force.
Well, that brings another question to mind. Have you seen groups like the LGBT Alliance in the other branches, say the Marine Corps, the Army, or Navy? Or is this something that you think is pretty unique to the Air Force?
I personally haven't seen any in other branches, but I know there are other groups out there. Whether or not they actually have gone through the steps to become a private organization is a different story, but there is a group at Monterey called Polaris that we are attempting to establish a kind of like a connection with. So we know there are other groups out there, but as far as other branches, I'm not quite sure.
Okay. Well, great. Well, tell us where people can go to learn more about the Travis Air Force Base LGBT Alliance.
We actually have a public Facebook page. It's www.facebook.com/LGBT Alliance 707.
Excellent. And I hear a website is also in the making?
It might be.
It might be
in the future.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, we will have that link to the LGBT Alliance Facebook page on our own website at outbeatnews.com. Congratulations to all three of you. I think the work that you're doing is amazing, and you're changing lives in addition to serving our country.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
So thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
We're going to take a music break, but before we do, I have 2 tickets to next month's screening of Matt Shepard is a Friend of Mine at Napa Valley College. This will take place on Thursday, April 17th at 7 p.m. And I'll give these 2 tickets away to caller number 2. If you'd like to see this new documentary, give me a call right now at 707-584-2020. That's 584-2020. And I'll be back with the Outbeat Youth segment and positive images right after the music break. Here's Well Strung with Mozart meets Kelly Clarkson.
Moving on.
And congratulations to Linda Johnson, who is the winner of our 2 tickets to the screening of Matt Shepard is a Friend of Mine at Napa Valley College. If you'd like to join us on April 17th, you can order tickets online. Just go to our website at outbeatnews.com and find the link near the center of the page. And if you're just joining us, you're listening to Outbeat News in Depth on KRCB FM Windsor, Santa Rosa. Well, in this month's Outbeat Youth segment, I'm excited to have back in our studios the members and leadership from Positive Images, Sonoma County's premier youth organization. If you were with us last month, you might remember that we started our interview and then got chased out by the fire department because of a small fire in another part of the building. So I'm thrilled to have Positive Images back here with us. So let's try this again. Why don't we go around the room and have you all introduce yourselves and tell us what your role is with Positive Images.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victor, and currently I'm a peer counselor with Positive Images and a leadership member at the Thursday night support groups.
Awesome.
Hey there. My name is Cameron Brockway. I am the current intern at Positive Images, and I'm a peer counselor, and I help with facilitating our Thursday night youth group meetings.
Welcome.
And I'm Javier, and I am the outreach coordinator for Positive Images and new peer counselor for the support groups on Thursday.
Excellent. And remind us where you all go to school. I remember some of you are in college at different locations.
I go to Sonoma State University.
I take classes at Santa Rosa Junior College.
Okay.
I'm also a student at the Santa Rosa Junior College.
Awesome. And did you all go to high school and middle school here in Santa Rosa?
I did. I went to middle school and high school in Santa Rosa.
Okay. How about
And I grew up actually up in the Sierra foothills up in a little town called Sutter Creek, so completely out of the area.
And so what was that like?
That was completely different environment.
I bet it was.
And for me, I'm actually a native of San Francisco and went to school out there, Catholic school, and then a charter school for high school.
I bet escaping out of that might have been welcome?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's been a lot that's been going on in the legislature anyway, with new laws to help protect LGBT students in schools. And so I'm curious to kind of get your sense about what life was like for you in high school, and then if you have seen any change, and then also talk about what college life is like. Victor, let's start with you.
Yeah. At Santa Rosa High School, the student population is a little bit more diverse, so there is a lot seen on an everyday basis. And with the administration that's very supportive, very outgoing and up to date with kind of like the norms and trying to keep peace everywhere, whenever there was a problem, something got resolved, and that was really good. And with the help of the Gay Straight Alliance on campus, it made any issues concerning gay issues, transgender issues, kind of non-existent almost.
Okay. How about for the rest of you?
For me, I don't spend too much time on campus. I don't see, much of an issue because I take evening classes, but I think everything, I don't see anybody having any problems.
Now, are you able to be out on campus if you wanted to be, or?
Oh, yeah. I feel completely comfortable being out on campus, yeah.
And so in classes and whatnot, when you do your introductions, if it's appropriate, you would identify as being gay?
Oh, I'd be comfortable identifying as gay.
So because you grew up in the Sierra foothills, what was that transition like then coming here?
Well, actually, when I moved to Sonoma County, I actually moved to Rohnert Park. And I was actually completely blown away because where I grew up, I literally walked a mile just to get to the bus stop going to school. And then going from that to moving into Rohnert Park, where my neighbors were like half a mile away, it's like, oh my God, I could see the neighbors having a barbecue.
And what was school like, the environment? Was there a Gay Straight Alliance at your high school or any visibility for LGBT students?
I think that there was a Gay Straight Alliance, but I never actually attended, and I never, I was completely in the closet at that point in my life, and I avoided anything like that, and that's how I basically dealt with stuff myself.
And what about Sonoma State?
Well, Sonoma State is interesting. I've been there for about 2 months now, and I do see that the new building that they've created gender neutral bathrooms. So it's not specific to multiple people going into one restroom, but it's a restroom designated for gender neutral. So it's not one or the other. It's however you identify. So in that sense, I do see that there is some changes
visually that you can start seeing for things to make a safer and more aware campus for individuals to feel comfortable. As for the environment, I mean, I see gay life all over Sonoma State. Very open and welcoming and warm. Definitely don't see a lot of, I mean, I'm there most of the time during the week, but at the same time there are things I might not see, but nothing that's come up for the last 2 semesters.
And they have a pretty active, is it a queer straight alliance or gay straight alliance on campus?
Yeah, they do.
Do you participate in that?
I do not. My time schedule does not permit it. So at this point in time, hopefully next semester I'll start getting into that. But I have gone to a couple of their meetings.
Now, what about Santa Rosa JC? Is there a GSA there?
There is a queer straight alliance at the junior college, and unfortunately I can't make the meetings either. But I am involved in the student government there and the student clubs, so I kind of have a little bit of an insight of what's going on campus, and luckily there hasn't been any intolerance really to anything, and unfortunately I don't notice anything gender neutral restrooms at the moment in any of the newer buildings, which kind of says something, but at the same time there isn't necessarily conflict about gender, about sexuality, and if there was, students on that campus are such activists, they'd shut it down way too quickly. So
it seems like transgender students are now the ones that are really on the forefront of the struggle, certainly in the K-12 system. And I know at Napa College, where I work for my day job, trans students are just now coming to make themselves visible. What's your experience been at Santa Rosa JC? Are trans students visible there?
If they're passing, no. But I mean, I feel when I see students who are trans, I mean, I don't say anything because they're just students there going throughout their day, getting an education. So to me, it's a normal thing. And maybe there might be some looks. People will do a double take, not really know what's going on. And I think that's an opportunity to kind of teach. That's an educational opportunity that I do realize. I don't know if our QSA, our Queer State Alliance, is planning on doing something to educate the community at the JC about trans issues.
So I don't know quite how to put this. I know that in some of the classrooms at our college, we're beginning to have discussions about, in introductions, asking students about, which pronoun do you prefer? So there's even that more subtle acknowledgement that gender isn't necessarily the traditional binaries. Have you heard that in your classes?
I have not. Sonoma State hasn't reached to those grounds yet, but hopefully they will. I think that they're, with more advocacy pushing towards the understanding and awareness of other people in the classrooms, and kind of making everybody feel welcomed and comfortable, and asking that question, that definitely gives a very common ground and warm welcoming for everybody. And what about the visibility of trans students at Sonoma State? I think I've only seen maybe a handful, if even that. And again, that's for individuals that, not to be judgmental in any way, but visibly you can kind of see that they've been through some transition. But others are passing, and you can't really tell. Right. So at that point, there could be a lot more that are open on campus. It's just harder for us to determine that. Victor?
Something that I found interesting, actually, on the application when you're submitting an application for the junior college, so they do ask you if you are transgender and your sexual orientation, which was really new. Right. Maybe in the last year or so, which I thought was really interesting. That's part of Assembly Bill 620 that was signed into law in 2011, I believe. And one of the requirements of that was that colleges throughout the state begin to measure the demographics of LGBT students within their population. And so for California, we've chosen to do that, at least in the community college system, on the universal application for admission. And that'll be rolling out on every campus. I'm glad to see Santa Rosa's up to speed with that already, but that'll be out statewide, supposedly by the end of the spring here, which is great. So let's shift gears back to Positive Images as an organization. And I know that you've started a new support group at Casa Grande High School in Petaluma.
Tell us about that.
So I think the transition or the start of it was, it's been a talk that we needed to extend these support groups, to the Southern County. And it's been talked about, and there have been some conversations around it. But in fall 2013, there was more of a push, and we had a little bit of outreach going to different GSAs in Petaluma specifically, and kind of giving the word that we wanted to open up a support group for through Positive Images out there. So a very good friend and a key player in all this is Betha McLean, assistant principal at Casa Grande, and she has the space that was available for GSAs. And so that space is what was given to us to use for our support groups on Wednesdays. And that kind of gave us that opportunity, and we seized it. The reason that we waited until the beginning of this year to start it is because we wanted to kind of move. It was kind of in the middle of the semester, so we wanted to give it like a clean start and,
Sure.
and kind of work that through. So, but it's been going fairly well.
Well, and that's just evidence that the principal does make all the difference, right, at a school. Because I remember years ago when I was more regularly involved with Positive Images, Petaluma was not one of the most accepting environments for high schoolers. I remember hearing a lot of horror stories from people who would come to the Thursday night meetings and talk about, what a hell it was on their campus. And so when I heard that there was a regular support group at Casa Grande, I was like, wow, something really changed. How many people come?
Usually it's we have 3 co-facilitators, and then there's usually between 8 to 12 that attend at this point in time. I think because it's fairly new and started on the 15th of January, that it'll give it a little bit more time, but we're definitely working towards doing a lot more outreach on campuses in Petaluma.
And is there a Gay Straight Alliance on the campus as well?
There is. The Gay Straight Alliance, the president is actually Roberto. He attends the support groups on Wednesday as well, just to kind of see what's going on, get the support, but also bring that back to the GSA. So we're working closely with the GSA.
I know on some campuses I've heard that a lot of the LGBT students still don't feel 100% comfortable participating in LGBT groups and events because they may be out in some segment of their school life, but they don't really want to be connected directly with, a pride event or whatever it happens to be. Are you seeing that as the case at Casa Grande? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, the people that go to the support group, are they also active in the GSA?
I would have to say probably yes and no. There might be a few that are in the support group that are sponsoring or supportive in the GSA. But what I do know is that the GSA is a little bit smaller. It's not quite up to 8 people, wow. So there's definitely a lesser amount in the GSA on the school, on the campus. So
tell us about a typical meeting. What goes on and what service do you provide?
Kind of modeled after the Thursday night meetings. I think they wanted just to essentially duplicate that support system. And I mean, we have check-ins for some of the nights. We have peer counselors there for members to utilize if they want to talk to someone one-on-one. We have guest nights. And then usually we have a social event. So I'm assuming I don't unfortunately go to the Petaluma one, but I'm sure that they emulate that very closely. Some of the leadership that is on the Petaluma group came from the Santa Rosa group, and they've been with the organization a few years now and have been doing facilitating peer counseling, so they kind of run it that way.
And they brought their experience with them. That's great.
For sure.
So let's go back to Santa Rosa now, and you mentioned the Thursday night support groups. What's going on now with those?
They're still up and running. We are meeting at the Positive Images Center on Chin Street in downtown Santa Rosa, and those are to capacity every Thursday night. About 25 people just go there and kind of do what we do best, just listen to each other.
So for someone who's new and not familiar with Positive Images, because you've been around for a couple plus decades, right?
Yeah, about 22 years now.
Yeah.
24 years.
24 years. Jim's sitting in the back raising those numbers up because he knows because he started it, and it was really one of the first in the region to support LGBT youth, and it's still going strong, which is terrific. So talk about how do you get involved? If you are a young person and you're in the process of coming out, maybe you're not out to your parents, can you just show up?
Definitely, you can just show up. We also have resources online. We have our website, pauseimages.org, and we're also located on Facebook. And if anyone does want to come by the center to just check it out, we're open weekdays 1 to 5. We have a volunteer there every day to give tours, to answer any questions, to kind of give an explanation of what Positive Images is to anyone who's curious, who may be too scared to go to an actual meeting. We have our phone number, 707-568-5830, that anyone can call and someone will pick up and talk.
Great. And we'll make sure we have those resources on our own website at outbeatnews.com.
Great.
We'll put those links there so you can go and check it out. Now, you've got a number of other groups that are also meeting at the center. Tell us about who else is using the facility.
So a lot of the trans support groups use the center, facilitated by one of our members and peer counselors, Jackie. And we have the trans youth group the first and third Tuesdays from 6 to 8 at the center. We have the trans M to F adult group, second and fourth Tuesdays, 6 to 8 p.m. We have the female to male 21 and over group, first and third Sundays from 3:30 to 5, and then we have the parents of trans first and third Monday from 7 to 8:30. So it's a flurry all the time.
It sounds like you've got all the bases covered. Something for parents, something for young people, and something for... These are adults, right? The MTF and FTMs include adult
anyone.
Groups as well. Fantastic. What are some of the other resources that are at the center?
Other resources, we have a gender exploration closet for anyone who is thinking about doing a transition like that. We have a library full of LGBT novels and resources there at the center. And we also have films that can be watched at the center there. And we have a wider range, and just so much is available for anyone who is looking for something.
Talk more about the gender exploration closet. I think that's something that's entirely unique.
The Gender Exploration Closet, it's a pretty cool setup. We have a lot of people that have donated clothes and stuff to us. We have like a cabinet with makeup, and we have a cabinet with both underwear and there's packers and also binders. So the packers and the binders specifically for trans males who are exploring their sexuality, of course. And then there's also, I think we have false. We have bras, and people can stuff their bras. It's for males or trans females that are transformed. They want to just see how they feel, put wigs on, and there's a whole closet just full of clothes for people just to try on whatever makes them comfortable, and they can really just feel, what they want to feel for how they need to feel for what they feel inside.
Yeah, it is the full deal. I mean, a lot of people who come to the trans support group meetings have never done that, and they've always just felt wrong. So the Gender Exploration Closet and the meetings being held in that same building kind of gives them an opportunity to find themselves, be comfortable, and just be real.
Go ahead.
And also the best thing about that is they don't have to feel out of place if they walk into a store wanting to go buy clothes for transitioning or just to see how it feels. They don't have to be embarrassed. They don't have to feel out of place, because they can just go to our center and try it out without, going out in front of people and buying stuff and people looking at them funny. That's like something they don't even have to worry about.
And go ahead.
And the association with that and what we were talking about earlier is that there's an essence of confidentiality that's essential for people to feel safe and comfortable. So when we do have support groups or when people come to the center, we make it very clear that this is a place that we don't expose anybody, because individuals might still be closeted or they're not comfortable around anybody else. So the transition of coming from the outside world into Positive Images is that we make that a very secure and safe place for people.
So I would imagine then a young person who is exploring their own gender identity doesn't feel comfortable doing that at home because of for whatever reason, parents, could they come to a meeting then dressed in the clothing that represents their gender identity?
Oh, we welcome it. We welcome it. Oh, yes, of course.
Great. And you mentioned peer counseling before at the groups. Talk about that a little bit.
The peer counseling program is for members who have been to the meetings for a certain amount of time, usually about 3 months usually, who really want to dive in and do more listening and help more people on a one-on-one basis. And it's a 6-week intensive Sunday training, about 3 hours each Sunday, and we go into topics like self-harm, grieving, abuse, just kind of dive into really what it means to listen to someone and what it means to give feedback that is appreciated, that really means we're connecting, we're here to help you. And a lot of people benefit on both sides, the peer counselee and the peer counselor, on just kind of deepening their humanity.
And this isn't some casual sort of training, right?
By all means, no.
Who provides the training then?
Jim actually provides. He's one of the main trainers, and then we also have several other trainers. This one that we just finished today actually was our last kind of session. Bree, Jaime, and Tyler.
Yes.
Were the three that also trained us. So we have individuals that have went through the training in our peer counselors, but have also, I believe, been trained in a way to train others to become peer counselors. So, yeah.
Awesome. And Positive Images could not exist without a very large support structure. Talk about the board and who runs all this.
Actually, our board is, we have Mike Tracy is our board chair. He was here actually last month when we were on the radio, but he's out of town currently. And our board is actually pretty cool. We got a group of, for the most part, either volunteers or parents of our youth that have either come and went. We also have Tim Lane is also another one of our board members, very active in the board, and we have our board meetings, which is every fourth Wednesday of the month at 7 to 9, and that's actually open for people who are interested in coming to the board. And we're actually currently looking for board members because we're actually looking to see if we can just add a few more people to our board so we can have more opinions, more ideas with how when we make decisions with what's happening with the organization, the more people opinions we can get, it kind of helps keep, things just running smoother.
So Positive Image is a local nonprofit organization that survives on the generosity and donations of people in the community, right?
Yes.
Right. So the board really plays an essential function. Describe for me some of the characteristics you're looking for in board members.
Oh my God, anyone who wants to give back to really a cause, to feel more of a connection with the community. I mean, Greg, we wouldn't mind if you came back. There's always a spot. If anyone's seeking volunteer opportunities, a seat on the board, a mentoring opportunity, you can contact Jim Foster, the clinical director of the organization and the founder. And his information's on the website. Once again, poseimages.org, or call the center at 707-568-5830, and anything we will find, if you're hungry to help, to serve, to kind of just be there with the organization, there is something for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I can say with some credible experience that it's great work. I always enjoyed going to the Thursday meetings and listening to the stories and really watching people grow up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that was so rewarding. And when people come feeling very, insecure about who they are, and then they walk into a room of people who are just like them, it's a 180.
Mm-hmm.
So to be part of an organization like that and to help support it, I think is one great way to give back to the community. Talk about some of the things coming up for you this spring.
So for a lot of our events, one of the big things is Hella Gay Prom, and we're in the process of kind of solidifying everything for that. So there's some information, but I'm not going to put anything out there right now. But for that, we'll have flyers. We'll definitely have things that we're going to give out to different high schools as well as colleges. Aside from that, we do Wednesday night markets. That'll start up May 7th. So we'll be doing kind of tabling there during that time to kind of give more information about what Positive Images is, what they do, and have people representing there. And we do panels. So we go to technically anywhere that that we can go to kind of give panels of people of their coming out story and kind of connecting with students. And also, if it was in any other situation or form, we can definitely do it. But at this point, we're doing a lot of panels for high
So that's
schools.
the Wednesday night market in downtown Santa Rosa, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that'd be a great opportunity for people to go if they want to meet some of you and find out how they can get involved as well.
Most definitely.
Oh yeah, most of the time it is run by youth in the organization who volunteer, who go to the meetings, who kind of are in it. And it's great to have people kind of who don't know about the organization, which is crazy because we've been here for 24 years. We do get those people who are like, what? You're here? And it's just such a great connection to see them interact with the people who are getting the service.
Right.
And people who want to give back. It's so it's just so awesome to see.
Yeah.
And we're actually collaborating on 2 events at the junior college. So Dan of the Oaks will actually be tabling with the Queer Straight Union. I believe that's what it's called on the junior college campus.
And when is that coming up?
That's May 4th, which is a Sunday. It's either May
The first Sunday of
the
May.
first Monday of May. And then we're also doing the Spring Wellness Fair, which is the 7 realms of wellness that Student Health Services is putting together, which is going to be a really big fair. And that, I believe, is on the 23rd of April.
You guys have a very, very busy spring ahead, that's for sure. Tell us once again where people can go to learn more about Positive Images.
So, to find out more about Positive Images, you can visit our website at poseimages.org. Give us a phone call at the center at 707-568-5830, or stop on by to chill with us at in downtown Santa Rosa. We're located behind SoCo Coffee at 312 Chin Street.
Excellent. We're already out of time, and I'd like to thank all 3 of you for joining us tonight, and most importantly for doing the great work you're doing at your schools, Sonoma State and Santa Rosa JC, as well as at Positive Images.
Thank you.
All we can do.
And we'll be back right after this.
Hi, this is Rick Dean, Executive Director of Face to Face. What if I told you that you could have peace of mind in just 20 minutes, and it's free? Face to Face offers free, anonymous HIV testing with results in just 20 minutes. Knowing your HIV status can be life-saving for you and those you love. Visit Face to Face in Santa Rosa. Call us at 544-1581 or visit us at f2f.org. Ending AIDS in Sonoma County 20 minutes at a time.
And that brings us to the end of another hour. My thanks to all of the members of the Travis Air Force Base LGBT Alliance who are here, and to those members of Positive Images who came by to share their story. I'll be back next Sunday night with Gary Carnavelli for an Outbeat Extra. Family Law Keena Crocker will join us to talk about many of the legal changes that have happened since the fall of the Defense of Marriage Act. That's next Sunday night at 8 p.m. and only here on KRCB Radio. In the meantime, have a great week, and thanks for spending your Sunday night with us. Outbeat News in Depth is hosted and produced by Greg Moralia exclusively for KRCB Radio. You can listen to our shows on demand on iTunes and on our website at outbeatnews.com. And be sure to follow us all week long on our Facebook page and Twitter feed for the latest LGBT news from here in the North Bay and beyond. Support for Outbeat Radio and KRCB FM comes from members and from the new Hansel Subaru. See the new 2014 Subaru Outback with symmetrical all-wheel drive and all the new Subarus at Hansel Subaru in Santa Rosa or at hanselsubaru.com. And from General Hydroponics, creating solutions for gardeners for over 30 years. General Hydroponics designs plant nutrients that bring nature and technology together for bountiful plants. On the web at genhydro.com. You're listening to KRCB FM Windsor, Santa Rosa, the new 91. It's just before 9 p.m. Stay with us. Climate One is next.